This is Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage, your place for all things Wisconsin sports. Now, your host, Trage.
How we doing, everybody, and welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage, as we're coming in here on this Wednesday. I hope you guys are enjoying your Wednesday so far here. I hope you guys are enjoyed your week. It's getting a little warmer outside there, so you can't beat the weather right now. I mean, if it was 60s, that'd be okay. But it's getting warmer. That's all I know. It's getting warmer. They're talking about rain this weekend, though, so that's not great. But I mean, all in all, you'll take it over the snow. So definitely some nice weather here we have coming up for the week. So lots of stuff we have to dive into tonight here on the show. We have to get to the Packers. We're going to talk Packers with Ummer coming up next year. We're going to get to that. We have the Bucs talk with Wisco Fanatics guys. They're going to stop by in hour number one. We got some Brewer talk coming up later. Kyle's going to stop by, talk about the World Baseball Classic. Some Badger talk to get to later on here in the show as we prepare for that game coming up here against Maryland. When we're done with the show here today, that game's going to start up. Can't wait to watch the Badgers take on Maryland. Last home game of the season for the Badgers after they just completely rolled Washington over the weekend there. And I loved every second of it because we talked about it going into it. And we were actually, before the Washington game, we had the show here on Saturday. If you guys missed it on Saturday, make sure you guys check us out. Saturdays, 10 to 11. But we talked about it. And I said the only preview that we needed to do for the Washington game coming off that Oregon game was the Badgers need to come into this game and play like a team that wants a game more than the other one. Because they've had so many games this season where they play, you hate to use the term lesser opponent, but a team that is worse than them, just get record-wise, whatever you want to say, personnel even, and they just come out flat, they get down big, they try to crawl themselves out of a hole, and they can't, and they lose. We've seen it against Ohio State, where I think the Badgers are the better team. Lost that game. Mobley wasn't playing. One of their better guards just looked terrible in that game. And then they have the loss to Oregon mixed in there. They've had some losses this season where you look back at it and you say, wow, I mean, this is a different team than what we watched a game ago. But they bounced back against Washington. They look a lot better in all facets. And now they have this date coming up tonight here with Maryland before that big one end the season at Mackey there on Saturday. So lots of good stuff to dive into today here with that Badger team. There was a lot of good games across Wisconsin, their high school sports happening too over the weekend. So lots of great stuff that we watched over this last weekend here. But I want to start out today. We're going to talk a little Brewers here to start out the show. And then I want to hop into the Brewers later on here in hour number one. But just talking about the Brewers and what we've kind of seen. And we've talked about the Durbin trade, the Freddie Peralta trade. And we talked about those things thoroughly by now. So I don't want to get back in. Well, kind of get back into them, right? I don't want to talk about the trade itself, I guess. But the Brewers gained a lot of pitching depth in those games. Not in those games, in those trades there. And we went back at it and we're looking at it. We're like, well, what do they need all these lefties for? What do they need all these pitchers for? There's so many pitchers on the roster now. Why do they need so many pitchers? Why do they need so many starters, right? And we're speculating. Well, what are they going to do with them? Are they going to try to make another trade? That's a possibility. They might try to trade for somebody. They might try to move on from one of these guys. But when I was really thinking about it and just kind of going, looking at last season a little bit there, the Brewers went through a stretch where they had a lot of guys on the injured list. That's why they got Quinn Priester, was because they were banged up in the starting pitching. So they went out and got a starter. Now you have a lot of depth. And the question that comes across is, well, what are you going to do with all this depth? I think it's needed depth, if you ask me. Because you have a bullpen that gets taxed. Because the Brewers, you look at their starters, they don't have guys who really go 6, 7, 8 innings into a game, right? Their starters don't. Their starters are more 4, 5, 6. And that's what we saw last season. And if all trends in the same direction, their bullpen is going to be used pretty heavily this year. We look at Jared Caney from last year, look at guys like Nick Mears, Grant Anderson. They all had innings that were pretty high. So then you think about, okay, now they got a lot of young, controllable arms with options. That is needed. And that's where I'm kind of looking with what they did in these trades is they got guys who have length, who are able to go multiple innings, but also have options. So you're able to have those moving pieces. You can bring off the big league roster, send back down to AAA when you need them. You have guys go down. Maybe you have guys who've been overused in your bullpen, whatever it is. You're able to bring in some guys to give you some length. That is much needed. So when I think about what the Brewers have done in moving on from some of these guys and getting those controllable arms, I starting to trend towards I like this. I like what they did. They made these moves to give themselves options in case if they run into one of these problems, right? Because now you have, you look at guys. You have Angel Zerpa now, and you have Brandon Sprout. You have Harrison's in that mix now. You're going to have Duran in that mix a little bit. He looked good in his first outing. I don't know if he's going to be there right away, but you have, all options of younger guys. Coleman Crowe has been kind of in the talks there a little bit as being a guy we could potentially see at some point. Carlos Rodriguez, we've seen him a little bit along the way. But you have these guys who give you flexibility now. And to have that ability where the bullpen's a little bit taxed, we might need to have a couple more guys with some length up for this game, whatever. Maybe you're playing a lot of back-to-backs. Maybe you're in a stretch of I haven't looked at their schedule. I don't have it right in front of me, but maybe you have a stretch where you're playing 11 straight games and you need to have that sixth guy. You need to have that extra guy in your rotation. Your bullpen's kind of being overused because one of those guys went, maybe one of your guys only went 4 innings on that Tuesday. And now on Thursday, your bullpen's a little bit taxed. Okay, what are we going to do? Okay, we make a quick phone call. We get some guys up here, a little bit more length. That's where I kind of like what the Brewers did here. Getting some of those guys to add more depth, but add length and add control and add options into that bullpen, into that starting rotation. So just some thoughts that I had coming off the weekend there when thinking about these trades that they made and the amount of pitchers that they have now to pick from. Because I believe if you think about the starting rotation, they have like 11, 12 guys that you could, realistically say that could be starters. Now, most of them won't be, but you have those guys in there now, and some of those guys will transition to the bullpen, but then you have options to bring back up and down. So definitely, I like, if that's the idea, I'm good with the idea of what the Brewers did because you got to prepare for worst case scenario, right? Especially with guys like Brandon Woodruff and Quinn Priester. I don't think Quinn Priester is going to be very long before we see him in spring, but we don't know about Brandon Woodruff. He's throwing simulated games. They've gone well, but we'll wait and see when he's actually going to make a start down there in spring training. So when we come back from the break, Ummer's going to stop by. We're going to talk a little Packers. We have the Wisco Fanatics guys coming up here in hour number 1. We're going to talk some Brewers here to end hour number 1. And then we have Kyle coming up hour number 2, Badger Talk in hour number 2 there, getting you ready for Badgers, Maryland coming up tonight here. So when we come back, Ummer's stopping by. We'll be right back here.
I'm going to not notice we're coming back from the break, and I'm going to be singing here in the background, and then all of a sudden you guys are just going to hear my terrible singing voice when we come back in because I just start jamming here at the commercial breaks to these songs coming back in, and I'm just one of these times I'm just going to be caught, with my terrible singing voice going at it. So anyways, this is Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're coming back in here on this Wednesday. And hey, this next segment, Ummer's stopping by. We're going to talk a little Packers. This next segment is brought to you by Chili Implements. Tackle your toughest jobs on the farm or in your yard with equipment from Chili Implement. Visit Chili Implement and find what you need today. Spring is here. It's warming up. You're getting into the backyard. You're getting out to the fields. You might need some equipment. Check them out there. Chili Implement. So Ummer is here tonight. Ummer, how we doing on this Wednesday?
Good, man. Good. Just combine ended. I really enjoyed that. And just really looking forward to this weekend and just trying to see what happens in the beginning of the new league year, who gets cut, and where we save money and all that good stuff.
I watched the combine and I enjoyed it too, just so everybody knows.
See, let people know.
If you guys don't know the context behind that, I had my own hiccup explaining why I didn't think the combine was as important as what other people say. And if you guys missed that, listen back to the show on Saturday. I have it on the podcast platforms. You can hear it there. I apologize for it already, but I did enjoy the combine. It was great. I was texting Ummer during it. I said, don't tell anybody I'm watching it because they might lose their minds on me anyway. So I watched the combine. It was fantastic. So we're going to talk a little Packers today. The surprising thing that came out of the weekend, and I know the Packers nothing's really happening, right? They hired their special teams coordinator, but nothing really crazy is happening, right? Well, this is a storyline that I didn't expect. So Rich Bisaccia steps down as the Packers special teams coordinator and the assistant to Matt LaFleur. He steps down, and everybody, kind of was in the same, kind of mindset where it was just time. He was getting older. He just wanted to retire and just be done. Well, then it comes out that Rich Bisaccia is thinking about going to Clemson. Now, the weird part is, and this is what I was just reading up on, is there's no actual job, there's no open staff positions on the Clemson football team at this very moment, and he is still pending approval from the board of trustees if he's even going to be brought on to the coaching staff. But just odd, because I thought, I guess in my mind, was that Rich was stepping down because he was just getting older and he just wanted to step away from football for a while. And I understood that. That's okay. Like you've been in the league for a while. You just wanted to step down and be done. But then he's going to Clemson, which then brought it to a new light. Well, what's going on? Like, I didn't think that he'd step down from Green Bay, to be honest with you. And then all of a sudden he steps down and now he's talking about going to Clemson. Now, what his role is going to be there, I don't know. Maybe it's just an advisor. I have no idea. College football is in crazy times, right, with NIL and everything else. So maybe bringing in a guy like Rich to oversee things, maybe that wouldn't be a bad idea. He's not a bad coach. Like, I don't want to make him out to be a bad coach. He's not a bad guy. He's not a bad coach. He's a good people person, right? Good in the locker room. So maybe that's what Dabo Swinney's thinking out there in Clemson. But, I mean, just an odd thing. And I don't know. It makes you question, like, did he actually want to leave Green Bay? Was it a forced step down? They just said he stepped down. What happened behind the scenes? Did he finally feel the outside noise, right? Everybody's been kind of calling for his job for a while. Did he finally, like, give in to that outside noise? I mean, Umar, when you heard this news, just odd. Like, I didn't expect, like, this was like, whoa, what? Really? Why? I don't know what's happening. Like, I mean, what's your thoughts coming off of it?
I mean, honestly, I know he had a relationship with Dabo Swinney. I think he actually started out his collegiate career at Clemson, I believe. I know he's friends with Dabo. Okay. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if he's retiring from the NFL to get back to his roots. Maybe he just wants something to do. And here he is now, like, he's just going to try something different. I don't know. Again, it's really weird where he waited for the coaching hiring cycle to end, makes his decision, and then, everyone was blindsided by it. So maybe there's more to it. Who knows, and maybe, unfortunately, he started hearing the rumors a little more than he expected. And maybe he started hearing the fact that no matter what was going on, he was going to get blamed for everything. And maybe he just got tired of it, Right. And the funny thing is, never once did LaFleur in the media ever blame Rich, ever. He never blamed his coaching staff. He never blamed him. He was very diplomatic in that sense. So who knows what's going on behind closed doors. But, I wasn't very happy with the things that happened under Rich's watch. But unfortunately, he can't make people kick. He can't make people, recover an onside kick. You can't help people block. But again, end of the day, he was a good dude, a good coach, a good man. Every single person that spoke on him spoke positively. So I hope nothing for the best for him. And I think a guy like him, who's a good culture guy, like you just said, would be really, really good for the college ranks.
Isn't it something how you come around on a guy once he's fired? We spent many weeks calling for his job and everything and not having a good thing to say. And then all of a sudden he's gone and we're like, yeah, he was a good guy, good coach. And nobody ever said anything bad about him and this and that. And it's like,
oh no, I did.
Feel bad.
Yeah, 100%. I'm talking about the players. All the players
right,
very positive and elusive for him. But don't get it twisted. I'm happy he's gone because if you keep bringing back the same coach and expecting different results, and they're not doing anything to change the way they're attacking things, and he's an old school coach, I don't think he's going to be changing his methods because of that. I'm happy that we got somebody new in there. I don't know how this guy's going to be. He has coached the number one special teams ranking before, and he's coached a couple of mid ones, but mid is better than last. So I have nothing but the best for Cam McCord. And again, don't get it wrong. I'm very hearing about the stories about Rich. You knew this about him when he was at the Raiders, where when he got at the end of the season, he wrote handwritten letters for every single player on that team when he was the interim head coach. I mean, it's just and his daughter had taken a picture of him doing that, and he got really upset about it because he didn't want that to get out. But it just shows you the kind of man he is. And of course, you have to separate the man and the coach, right?
Right.
There's guys that we've seen that are just amazing people, but just not good coaches.
Yeah. No, I agree. They needed a change.
They 100%
I agree on that. It's crazy to me how you listen to so many different shows, and they go from, because yes, it is people
Yeah, I
are
know where you're going, yeah.
separating the man from the coach, right? And how he was. And it was just so many weeks upon this guy's the worst. We need to get rid of him. And then afterwards, like, this guy's the nicest guy in the world. This and that. and it baffles me sometimes. And I know I'm at fault for this too. It's just a crazy thing. But I mean, yeah, he's super great guy, super great coach. You needed a change in Green Bay. And, we've talked about it a million times, but something comes down to personnel too. It does come down to personnel. Now, does he have a hand in that too? Yeah, but Goody's there. Matt LaFleur's there. You have a lot of other guys who are included in that personnel decision too. So, I mean, there's a lot of different factors that go into it. I don't think all the blame's on Rich. I don't think that the special teams were good under Rich, but I also don't think everything is on him too. There definitely has to be some changes with the way Matt LaFleur runs things, with the way Goody does things. There definitely has to be changes in that aspect too. And more of an emphasis, right, on the special teams side of the ball, especially with the new guy coming in, trying to get the special teams back to where it should be, at least in the top 20, I would say, of special teams. If you could, that'd be nice. Right. Getting in the top 20 for special teams here every once in a while. So speaking of Matt LaFleur, speaking of Goody, perfect transition. We'll go right into it because we had another thing we want to talk about. A lot of people out there, and I saw it after Matt LaFleur and Goody were extended. I saw this chatter, but it's still out there, and a lot of people still talking about it. The Packers are okay with staying complacent with bringing back Matt LaFleur and Goody. And I thought about that. I said to myself, I can see where they're coming from, right? Because you tell me all the time the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That's the definition of insanity. And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, right? Because Matt LaFleur, you just keep bringing him back and he keeps leading you to the playoffs and keeps leading you to these. I'm not going to say, he's a 7 seed, but always into the playoffs and you fall short. And then we have something else to blame. And then we move on to the next year and it all looks good. And then it kind of falls off the train. The train kind of falls off the tracks for a little bit. They maybe get it back upright a little bit. And then it just completely crashes. And it's just been like that over and over and over again. And we just keep doing it back and forth, right? And we keep talking about it every year. It's like, should Matt LaFleur even come back as the head coach? And then he comes back. And I guess I agree with people if Matt LaFleur doesn't change his ways.
Right.
If he doesn't start ruling with an iron fist in that locker room and start expecting the best out of his guys night in, night out, Sunday after Sunday, Monday after Sunday, whatever you want to say, at practice during the week, if he does not expect the best out of his guys and demand it, and when he sees guys like Rashawn Gary jogging and he doesn't think that's 100%, pull him off the field, put somebody else out there because somebody on my bench will give that 100%. I don't even care how much money you make. I'm going to throw somebody else in there who's going to care. Lucas Van Ness, whoever, was Angabare. Those two guys gave all the effort in the world every time they were out there. Yep. Anybody can say Lucas Van Ness stinks and that he was drafted too high and blah, blah, blah. But I have never once said Lucas Van Ness was not giving him his all on that play. I have never once said that. Angabare, I've never once said that. Micah Parsons, you can't say that guy doesn't give 100% every play because he does. And that's the model that you have to build this team after, and that starts with Matt LaFleur. So I would say I agree with people on the complacency part if Matt LaFleur does not change his ways of being a head coach of a football team. Because, some people are like, he's too soft. And some people are like, what do you want him to be? All yell all the time? It's like, no, I want him to be tough. I want him to demand the best out of his guys. I don't need him to be like Dan Campbell, all growly. I don't need that. I need Matt LaFleur to rule with an iron fist and demand the best out of his guys. Because when you have a young roster, as the Packers love to continue to build as young rosters, you have to demand the best out of those guys because otherwise they're going to start getting away with little things, and then it leads to bigger problems. And then you lead to penalties, and then you lead to all the unnecessary stuff. And that's what leads to problems in the locker room and on the field. So that's where I'm looking and saying, I don't believe it's complacency if Matt LaFleur sees this as an opportunity to change himself, to change the way the Packers have been trending and make it look better. I mean, are you kind of in that same boat, or what do you think when people say the Packers sticking with LaFleur and Goody is them being complacent?
I mean, at the end of the day, I think that no matter what these guys do until they win a Super Bowl, that's what they're going to keep getting, right? Right. I mean, that's what it comes down to. At the end of the day, you have continuity with bringing back LaFleur, bringing back Goody. If you made a change with Goody, I'm not saying I would agree, not saying I would disagree. I can go either way on that one. Coach LaFleur, though, if you did fire him, who would you bring in? Right?
Exactly.
And then if you do, you got a whole new staff. You have a whole new offense, probably. You have and then, you got Gannon there. We wouldn't have had a Gannon at this point, right? Who knows what you would have on defense? And then you got to figure out all these players that you have now. Do they now fit this new scheme that you're bringing in? And it's just to me, like, people are looking at teams like just other teams like the Patriots or like the Chiefs or, possibly other teams that have consistently gone to the Super Bowl and won it multiple times. They're like, why not us, right? And so then when you feel like the person can't get over the hump, then you're like, okay, well, do we need a change? And sometimes change isn't always better, right? The grass isn't always greener. So for me, I think that people are really bored right now because it's the offseason to see how Seahawks won the Super Bowl, and everyone's a little unhappy that their team didn't win, and there's poking at holes on things that they can feel like they can complain about. And then the new league starts next week, and the Packers don't have a first round pick, so there's a lot of things for people to complain about, and that's what they're doing right now. They're trying to fill the void, and I think being negative with the team at this point doesn't serve us any good because we have no idea what's going to happen this next year. Right now, if we see the same things over and over again, then I think people might have an argument.
Yeah. No, I think it's the way that it's gone down. I think when you really think about it, I think that's where people, and I think that's where I get my biggest issues, I guess, with Matt LaFleur, is the way that the seasons have boiled down to, like last season. How many games did they lose because of costly penalties or because of just, I don't know, you would say like unprepared teams, or they weren't prepared for a game, or they just got outcoached, or special teams was a problem, or they just had mental mistakes throughout a game. I mean, it's just those losses, I guess. I think those are the ones that weigh on people the most, right? And I think that's where we go. We look back to the Buccaneers game in the NFC Championship game, where you just had costly errors in that game, and you've had seasons now where you've had good teams opportunity, right? I was just watching earlier the first drive of the season for the Green Bay Packers against the Detroit Lions, and they walked right down the field, and it looked masterful, and it looked beautiful, and it was like, oh boy, here we go. And then I could honestly say since that moment, everything just slowly trended downward. From that drive, it just all like, there was good drives in between, right? But you get what I'm saying, where it's like that first drive of the season was awesome and everything looked fantastic. And if you just showed me that drive, I'd be like, that was going to be a really good football team. And then you look at the end of the season, you lost 5 games in a row, and I don't think I ever saw a drive like that again. Mm-hmm. So you just question of, okay, what does that tell you about this team and getting better as the season goes on? Because that's the way it's supposed to work, right? Week 1 is supposed to be most of these guys preseason week 1, right? We look back on it, we'd say, well, most of these guys didn't play the preseason, so they're still getting into the flow of things. They're still getting better, right? And then you're supposed to, week 4, week 5, week 6, you're supposed to see this team start to blossom and get better. And I know injuries don't help that. I get that. But injuries stink. And the Packers had the biggest problem with injuries last year. That's why I give Matt LaFleur the biggest pass for last year, was the injuries that he sustained weren't just normal injuries.
Yeah, they're like marquee injuries.
Yes, you had Devontae Wyatt go down. Like, if you would have lost Micah Parsons but not Devontae Wyatt, the defense would have been a lot better.
Vice versa. Yeah, exactly.
Right? It would have been a lot better. And if you wouldn't Tucker Kraft on the offensive side of the ball, that really hurt, because you look at the stats he was putting up before that, he was on his way to possibly being 1,000-yard receiver or 1,000-yard tight end that year. So definitely was on his way to being fantastic. So, I mean, just the key injuries that happened definitely made Matt LaFleur look worse. And that's why last season I kind of put it to bed. I'm like, I don't know if I can really judge what happened there. Well, the loss to the Bears in the playoffs, I can definitely say they should not have lost like that, giving up 25 points in the fourth quarter. That's definitely on the coaching staff, the players too, because I thought there was a lot of problems in there. But that's also on the coaching staff, getting their players up and ready. I mean, you're in the fourth quarter. I don't know how much more motivation you need to go put the Bears away. But if it ain't there, you need to go find guys who can find that motivation in the fourth quarter to go put a team away. That's all I know. You're in the playoffs, you're playing your heated rival, and you can't put them away. Like, I don't know. It just drives me nuts. I don't want to talk about the Bears game. So anyways, I think that's where a lot of people's problems come with Matt LaFleur, is the way that the Packers lose games and the way that the seasons kind of fall apart is a lot on the coaching staff and a lot on the way that they set up personnel along the way and not addressing needs along the way. So you can look at Goody to say that, and you can look at Matt LaFleur to say that too. So, Umar, one last thing I want to hit today here on the show. Packers backup quarterback spot. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of people kind of talking about this, and we just watched the combine. A lot of good, the quarterback draft is a lot of guys who could have potential. One guy who's got a lot of potential, right? Fernando Mendoza, going to be the number 1 pick. And then after that, the quarterback draft kind of drops. You got Ty Simpson in there. You have Drew Allers in there. You have a lot of quarterbacks who are, they could be good, but they're going to be lower in the draft. So if you're the Packers, a backup quarterback, you have Ritter in there right now, and you said Kyle McCord is also in that room right now. If you're the Packers, Do you think of somebody else that you want to see maybe in the draft or as a free agent or even a trade right now? Are you looking somewhere else for that backup quarterback spot, or are you looking those guys are good enough? Those guys could be good serviceable backup quarterbacks.
Honestly, like any way they bring to be in Matt LaFleur's like quarterback coaching school, I would call it, is going to benefit from it. I mean, honestly, like I think like right now, Desmond Ridder is a good choice. I think Kyle McCord was a freaking amazing quarterback at Syracuse. So he may have an opportunity to at least learn a good offense. And then on top of that, too, you could trade for a guy like Anthony Richardson who's going to be cut, right? You could wait to see how the market develops for somebody like Kyler Murray or, for that matter, Tua. Even though both guys are like, former first-round picks, high first-round picks too, I shouldn't add. But if they're cut and no one wants to sign him as a starting quarterback, why won't you be a backup at Green Bay? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of guys out there. Like, so for me, like, I'm okay that we can go to Desmond Ridder, third-round pick out of Cincinnati. I'm fine with that. I think that would be great I think it's good for his development. He has a lot of good skills. He has a lot of tools. He has, like, he's tall. He's tall. He got a little weight on him. He has a good arm. He's fast. He also played at a very successful college program. He did have a little bit of success in the NFL as well too. So for me, like I think he's a great opportunity to try to see if you can make him into something a little better than he already is. And then of course, if you feel like there's somebody in the draft, like I forgot what the kid's name is that we were talking about, but this guy he just blew up the combine, right? And he was a kid. And then also like I think also the quarterback for North Dakota, same thing for him too. Like there's a lot of guys that they can bring in to help supplement the coaching room, the quarterback room. Yep. For me, particularly, like I think they stick with Ridder and maybe bring in a rookie. Just someone that has loads of talent that you can get like in the 6th or 7th round and see if you can make something of him.
I like that. There's one guy that entices me that if he became a free agent with a cut, I would definitely go after him because I see Malik Willis in his game a little bit, and that is Justin Fields. That's one guy that I would kind of look into where getting him into a good spot with Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. I think if Justin Fields is smart, he sees what Matt LaFleur did for Malik Willis after he had problems down there in Tennessee. Yes. And now he's going to go out and get this big contract here in free agency as he's the number one quarterback out there in free agency right now. Somebody's going to give him a big payday. Justin Fields is going to look at that and say, what could Matt LaFleur do for me? What could he do for me? And that's where if I'm Justin Fields, if he gets cut by the Jets, I'd bet on myself, go to Green Bay, take a little bit less on a contract, be a backup to Jordan Love, and see what you can do. That's a quarterback I'd look at. I'd look at guys who are a Malik Willis type. That's where I'd look if I'm the Packers because Matt LaFleur thrives with those guys in the backup quarterback spot there. So, Amr, I got to run here. Let the people know where to find you out there across social media.
I'll just say where you can find me at AMAR345 or AMAR3455, X, Coast to Coast Packers, everywhere else, Instagram, TikTok, the whole 9 yards. Come at us. And as always, Trey, thanks for having me, man. I'll see you this weekend.
Of course, we'll see you this weekend. Thank you, as always, for stopping by. Make sure you guys check him out there across Twitter and the Coast to Coast Packers. He's on a lot of different shows, too, so make sure you stay up to date. He's got a lot of different Packer shows he's jumping on there, so make sure you guys check him out at AMAR. What was I always forget the number.
3455, yeah.
3455. Make sure you check
random,
him out there. Random numbers, of course. You got to have those random numbers at the end. Whatever ones they suggest, right? You type in your name, and they're like, we suggest this. And it's like, well, that makes sense. All right. So, anyway. When we come back here from the break, the Wisco Fanatics guys are going to stop by. We're going to talk a little Bucks. We're going to talk a little bit of everything. We'll be right back here on Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. I'm your host, Trade, and we're coming back in here on this Wednesday. And hey, this next segment, the Wisco Fanatics guys are stopping by. We're going to talk a little Bucks. We're going to talk a little Badgers. This next segment is brought to you by Foreman's Hardware. They offer you everything from home essentials to farm supplies, house to farm, grills to drills. Foreman's Hardware has got you covered. Visit today in Loyal, Colby, or Medford, Wisconsin. Tell them I sent you down there. Get 5% off your purchase down there in Loyal, Colby, or Medford. The weather is starting to heat up. We're going to get out in the yard, do some yard work. You might need some bags for all that random stuff that got left over from the snow. You don't even know what you're going to find out there. Make sure you check them out there, Foreman's Hardware in Loyal, Colby, or Medford, Wisconsin. So I have the Wisco Fanatics guys here, both of them. Both of them are here tonight. Not just Jake, not just Tyler. I have them both here tonight. So Jake, starting with you, how we do it on this Wednesday?
We're doing fantastic. Like you said, the weather's starting to warm up, and that makes me very happy. Kids get outside. They're not bothering me all day because they're not cooped up in the house. I love it.
Yeah, 100% agree. I'm not going to bring up the dirty paws thing because the last time it warmed up, Jake was telling me how the dirty paws were going to happen and we all had to worry about it. So I'm not even going to bring it up. I'm going to kick it over to our resident FanDuel commercial hater, and that is Tyler down here. Tyler, how are we doing on this Wednesday?
Just let it be known that my disdain for the repetitive FanDuel commercials, that rant can't be done on national radio.
We were in commercial break and we were talking about a little bit of everything. We got the topic of commercials because of pregame shows, and then he brought up FanDuel, and thank goodness that the show kicked back on, because otherwise we were going to hear the rant on the commercial break there. So there we go. We have to hit our Foreman's Hardware. Who needs to bring the tools to an upcoming matchup here for Wisconsin sports? Maybe it's a coach, maybe it's a GM. Who knows? Jake, who do you got for me? Who needs to bring the tools to an upcoming matchup?
I got Miles Turner. I feel like Miles Turner, especially the last 2 games, has been a little underwhelming for me. Overall, over the last 4 games, he's shooting 45% for the field, 15 to 33. He is shooting 10 of 23 beyond the 3-point mark. So that's 43%. So that's a good clip. But I need him to be a little bit stronger down low. I feel like he hasn't, really made an impact on the offensive end down low. Also, we've been giving up way too many points in the paint. 170 points in the paint over the last 4 games. The Bucks have scored 110. So for context, that's getting outscored on an average of 15 per game. That cannot happen if you're the Milwaukee Bucks and you're trying to go on a run here to make the play-in.
I completely agree with that one right there. Tyler, who do you got for me? Who needs to bring the tools to an upcoming matchup?
So it's a few weeks out yet, but I'm looking at Pat Murphy and who he's going to have starting opening day for the Brewers, just because it sounds like they're being very cautious with Brandon Woodruff. They're being a little cautious with Quinn Priester. So we're looking at Jacob Mizorowski opening day, ? But it's Pat Murphy. Just got to figure that stuff out. Jake and I are going to be planning our Brewers primer real soon. So I'm looking at that with a couple of question marks based on some of Pat Murphy's comments recently.
I like that one. I'm going to throw before I get to mine, I'm going to throw the question out here. If I had to ask you guys, who's your Brewers opening day starter? Just if you had to throw one out to me right now, knowing that Brandon Woodruff is up in the air if he's even going to be ready by opening day, and Quinn Priester hasn't worked yet, but is expected to work here pretty soon, who would you say is going to be your opening day starter? If you just had to throw one out right now.
Based on the way that it's going right now, knowing what we know about Woodruff, like you said, I'm leaning towards Mizorowski. I think even if Priester is ready, I still think he's going to be the day 2 starter, just because you're going to go a high strikeout guy, a guy who's going to give you some length, and then a high strikeout guy, just because you don't want to have your back-to-back guys who could give you 7 innings, but also could give you 4 2/3 if their pitch count gets high. You don't want to have those guys back-to-back and then really mess up your bullpen on the second day of the season.
I like that. Jake, who do you got for me?
Tyler gives this whole analytical, I'm going to break it down all smart, blah, blah, blah. I'm going with the vibes. It's opening day. It's Milwaukee. The roof is open. It's
not going to be open on March 29th.
I'm speaking it into existence. And I want 100 miles an hour on the mound, dude. Think about the vibes. Opening day, Mizorowski, 100 miles an hour. Everybody's excited. He gets like 13 strikeouts. Yeah, we're living good. Give me Mizorowski on the mound.
No, I'm going to go Pat Murphy, really weird. I'm going to go opener. They're going to throw an opener. Maybe like Jared Koenig to start the year.
He might.
He might just throw something.
You're going to like it.
I wouldn't put it past him to throw an opener out there on opening day. I wouldn't put it past him. Maybe we get Trevor McGill in the first inning just to set him down, and then we roll on from there. I could see a Chad Patrick. Like you guys are talking Mizorowski, and I could definitely probably Mizorowski. But I could see a Chad Patrick. If he works himself into the rotation, I could see you throwing him opening day. Why not? Why not throw a guy like Chad Patrick? He's shown he's got some big cojones on him. We saw that last season in the postseason. He could definitely be the guy to start opening day for you. I could see a Chad Patrick working in there, but probably Mizorowski because, like you guys said, you got the vibes, you got opening day. Mizorowski.
Chad Patrick was super reliable last year, so I wouldn't be mad at it, honestly.
I can see it happening. If it's not Quinn Priester, I think it's up in the air. And then I think it's between Chad Patrick and probably Mizorowski to be that opening day starter, because I could probably see Chad Patrick working his way into the rotation. They have a lot of options. There is a lot of options in the rotation right now for the Brewers. So, wait, Jake, I almost cut you off. Sorry. You go quick. You go.
I'm sorry. Chad Patrick would be the most Brewers thing of all time at opening day. Would it not? Would that not be the most Pat Murphy Brewers thing of all time?
He's Corbin Burns, man. He's Corbin Burns 2.0. So you might as well throw him on opening day. He's going to become the ace of the staff, Cy Young. Might as well just give it to him right now. It's going to be Chad Patrick. So I got to get to my performance hardware. Who needs to bring the tools to an upcoming matchup? I got a combo of guys here coming up tonight here for the Badgers. I have the combo of Blackwell, Carrington, and Rhodey because there is a guy from the Maryland Terrapins who has been lighting up the stat sheet as of late here, and that would be Mills. Now you look at Maryland and you say, okay, who's your leading scorer? You want to see all that. Their leading scorer is technically David Colt. If you look further, it's Payne, but Payne's been out since, I believe, December. So you look at a guy like David Colt, 14 points a game. Andre Mills has actually been really good as of late for Maryland here. And in his last 5 games, when you look at it, he had 39 against Northwestern, 21 against Washington, 19 against Nebraska and Rutgers. He had 15 in their last game out there. He's been really darn good for this Maryland team. He's actually been their leading scorer as of late. So I'm looking at those 3 guys most likely to be the guys guarding them in this one. And that's the guy. This is a really not a very good Maryland team. But if you slow this guy down, you're going to slow down Maryland. That's where I'm looking. It's got to be Blackwell, Carrington, and probably Rhodey are going to be the guys who are going to be matching up with him coming up tonight here in the Badgers versus Maryland matchup. So, fellas, we got to talk some Bucks. What we really came here to talk about, we got to talk some Bucks. And I know Tyler calls me the curse of the Bucks because the last time we came on here for the Saturday show, I said the Bucks have been looking really good as of late. And, well, it all went south really fast. So apparently I can't say that anymore. I just have to be a downer. So the Bucks have looked terrible as of late here, fellas. They have just looked downright terrible. Well, let's talk about it. Jake, I mean, as of late here, this Bucks team, they dropped that one to the Celtics, 108-81. There was really nothing great to talk about except for Giannis came back. Outside of that, 120-97 against the Bulls. That was a clunker. And then the next game was, 127-98. It's been some very bad performances as of late for this Bucks team. So, Jake, starting with you, good, bad, and ugly. What have you seen here as of late?
Well, I don't even know if I can say good. I mean, outside of that first half versus the Bulls, I mean, they were all right in that first half versus the Bulls. That'd probably be the good that I would talk about. The Knicks came in. They were rested. They came in. They slapped the Bucks in the face. The Bucks didn't slap back. The New York led 89% of that game. The Bucks just looked unorganized all night is the word I guess I'm going to use. The second half versus the Bulls, the Bucks lost 69-31 in the second half. They gave up a 27-0 run. I mean, that's just inexcusable. I guess a team that is actively trying to lose because they have literally no future. I mean, they have one guy that I would say is they could build around. But other than that, they don't really have a cornerstone player. The Bucks in the Bulls game specifically, the fast break offense was atrocious. They had an opportunity after opportunity after opportunity in the second quarter. I'm going to get deeper into the numbers on our show if you guys want to tune into that. But we are on a time limit for this one, so I can't talk for 15 minutes straight. As for Bucks versus Celtics, I know we're going to talk about it. I still don't understand why Giannis came back for this game. That's just my opinion, I guess. But the points in the paint, I talked about it with the performance hardware. Who has to bring the tools? The points in the paint for me is really something that I think the Bucks, with how their roster is set up, I think they should dominate that, to be honest with you. They have length. They have guys that are athletic. They have guys that can handle the ball. They just have absolutely zero offensive just creativity. It's really just, I said this to Tyler last night, I said, our offense is really just watching Kevin Porter Jr. or Giannis handle the ball for 15 seconds, and if they can't figure something out, they'll pass it up to somebody else, they'll get the ball back, and they'll throw a shot up, and then you run back on defense. And it's either that, they turn the ball over, they give up fast break points. I mean, it's been really, really ugly basketball lately. And they just need to figure something out. And what they need to figure out is getting back to everybody sharing the ball. You guys remember that from like 2 weeks ago? That was pretty fun to watch. Maybe they should all share the ball and everybody should shoot the ball and not just one guy dominate the ball. Just my opinion.
I like that. Tyler, what do you got for me? Good, bad, and ugly as of late here.
So I agree with Jake on the ball movement, and it's something, if you watch our show regularly, you'll hear him talk about it almost every single week, whether it's good or bad, whether we're having a streak of games where they've won 3 out of 4 and we're like, hey, the ball is moving really well, or this week where we're talking about winning 1 out of 4 and we're like, hey, where's the ball movement? It's such a thing when it comes to the game of basketball. Like, it's such a thing that it just correlates with winning. Regardless of what level you play at, what skill level you play at, how old your players are, it does not matter. Ball movement correlates with winning strongly. And it's, like I said, it's at any level, any age, and the ball movement, it's not good enough. And with that, the inverse of it is not taking care of the ball, and it's turnovers. You can't keep giving your opponent 21 more shots than you take. You can't be averaging 15 plus turnovers and expect to win a lot of basketball games against any good teams. You can beat some bad teams that way because they're going to be equally as sloppy as you, but you can't play sloppy and expect your point guard to have 1 assist and 5 turnovers and expect to win a lot of basketball games. There's one guy in particular who had a pretty solid month of February. He's had a couple bad games, and now the team looked bad. So I'm kind of feeling, as go Kevin Porter Jr., so go the Bucks. And unfortunately, I'm not seeing enough out of Ryan Rollins as a point guard specifically to say that he can carry the team as the primary ball handler. He's got to tune down the turnovers and just the bad decision making, because yes, once in a while you're going to take some bad shots. You're going to have some time where the shot clock runs down and you have to just chuck something up. That happens. I understand that. But 8 seconds into the shot clock and you're taking a step back mid-range over a guy who's 6 inches taller than you, that's as good as a turnover. That's just a terrible shot to be taking. At that point, if you're going to take that step back, you might as well make it a 3 and make it worth 1 more point if you somehow make it.
Right.
But the live ball turnovers, like it was the Bulls game, I believe, that they had 19 turnovers and 14 of them were steals. Yes, it was the Bulls game. 14 live ball turnovers where the Bulls don't have to wait for you to get back on defense. It's exactly like what Jake's talking about. Similarly with bad shots. If you're sitting there watching a bad shot go up, hoping it goes in, the other team gets to just grab the ball and go. All you're doing by taking bad shots is creating fast break opportunities for the other team. That's why I'm saying it's a good a turnover at that point. The Bulls got 20 points off of turnovers in that game. That's double what you should be allowing or striving to allow. 19 turnovers. That's 6 more than I want to see the Bucks at. My golden number for the Bucks has been 13. If they can stay under 13 turnovers, I'm good. I'm allowing up to 15 on days where they're playing with a faster pace, because I understand when you have faster pace, more possessions, you're going to have more turnovers. But, I mean, another 16 turnovers against the Celtics on Monday and another 19 points off turnovers. You just can't keep gifting your opponents easy opportunities to score the basketball, especially in today's NBA where everybody can shoot threes, and the best opportunity to get open threes is in transition. All that's going to do is dig you a super deep hole, super fast, like it did against the Knicks and the Celtics.
And you don't have a team that can get you out of that. I mean, you don't have this
star-studded team. That's a horrible model to try to play through.
Right.
Like we saw against the Timberwolves last year where they're down by like 20 points and they went on like a 33-2 run. Like that's just not sustainable over a long period of time. You can do it a couple times a season, but you can't do it a couple times a week.
Right. Right. No, 100%. I mean, you look at just the Celtics game in general here. You look to turnovers to assists, right? 16 turnovers to 18 assists on the game. I mean, if there's a turnover to assist ratio, very bad in that aspect there. And then you look offensive rebounds. I mean, you were talking physicality from the guys on the inside. 19 offensive rebounds you allowed to the Celtics. And I know you can look across a couple of the games and you're not going to be able to blame offensive rebounds per se, right? That's not the main reason. But still, I mean, you allow 19 offensive rebounds to a good team. What do you think they're going to do with them? What do you think they're going to do? They're probably going to beat you 108-81, and you're going to look like this was a terrible game. That's the Bucks as of late. And it's odd because we go back to that consistency talk that we had. Like, how do you stay consistent? And you see this team, and like we mentioned, like you guys said a week ago, the ball's moving. It looks great. The amount of assists are up. This team, they go out there, and it's just like boom, boom, boom. They're getting good shots. They're creating open shots by moving the ball. And then you go a week later, and this is what you see. And it was even before Giannis came back. It's still the same stuff. So, I mean, how
I guess how do you get, I don't know how to say it, like how do you get back to that consistent play on a consistent basis? Is that, I guess, on Doc? Because you hear a lot of people saying Doc Rivers and the problems with Doc right now, rotations. I texted you guys after the Bulls game, and I was like, he came out afterwards and said the second team was playing better than the first team, yet he let the first team, try to, I don't know, make it work. Like it wasn't working, but the second team sat on the bench and watched that, but they looked better. So I guess, I don't know, is it a Doc Rivers problem now? Like it's for me, it's got to be at this point.
So the way I'm looking at it is, I don't know that it's necessarily like, I'm not going to say it's 100% on Doc that we're in the position that we're in.
Right.
Because it's not easy to deal with what I would say are your two most important players being Giannis and Kevin Porter Jr. having barely played together at all this season. Like you can't plan for that. Yeah. What I will say is from here forward, it is 100% on Doc to figure it out. Like he's coaching to see if he's going to have a job next year on the bench. I'm fine with him moving into the front office. The guy's got tons of ball knowledge. I'm perfectly fine with that. But right now, he's got a month-ish, a little over a month to figure out what they're going to do. And in my opinion, you got about 4 or 5 games to figure it out if you're going to try to do anything significant this year. Giannis just came back. The reports were that he's been itching to come back for a little bit now. So he wants to play. And I get, getting him reps, and if he's 100%, I'm okay with him playing. But you have about 4 or 5 games to see if you can do what you can do to try to make the playoffs and just see what happens. I'm fine with that. If they make it as the 9 seed and they still end up with the 13th overall pick, I'm not going to be like upset. So I'm like, I'm not upset about that, especially in a class that's deep. Like if they're the difference between the 9 seed and the third, or the 9th pick and the 13th pick, I'm not super worried about it. But if you get to that point and you say the next 4 games or 5 games and they win 2 out of the next 5, then it's time to shut it down. And it's not time to shut it down where, like, if Giannis is 100% and you're just not going to play him and you're going to tank that way. It's who are the guys that are going to be here in 26, 27 and play them with Giannis. So if you're going to get to a point where you're no longer trying to make the playoffs, Kyle Kuzma, 0 minutes a game. Bobby Portis, 0 minutes a game. Those guys are not in the 26-27 plan. Sorry. If you are the Bucks, those guys are the 2 biggest salaries that John Horst is absolutely going to trade this summer to try to get a bigger piece here with Giannis.
Right.
So you put Giannis out there, you play him 35 minutes a game with Ousmane Dieng because those are the guys that he wants to play with. I'm perfectly fine with bringing Kevin Porter Jr. back next year. He's cheap. You've seen him do really great things. And like I just said a couple minutes ago, as he goes, so goes the Bucks with their ball movement. Even in games where they're not moving the ball well, Kevin Porter Jr. comes back in, ball movement picks back up, offense picks back up. Miles Turner, Jericho Sims, Pete Nance, give those guys minutes with Giannis and go forward there. And obviously AJ Green. And where I'm at, I'm looking at potentially a shooting guard upgrade over the summer. Not to say that AJ Green can't be giving, good minutes, but if you can get a starting caliber shooting guard, there's a name that's kind of floating around out there. That's where I think the biggest upgrade can be made.
All right.
I've been kind of vocal about Kawhi Leonard, but I'm kind of talking myself more into Devin Booker as the days go by.
All right. I like it.
I started that for you. Started that for you.
And I'm on board. Like I said, the more days go by, I'm on board.
I like it there. I like it. The Bucks definitely have their work to do here in the upcoming days here. And if it doesn't, like you guys said, we're talking a commercial. If they don't, these next couple games here are going to really tell you a lot about what the rest of the season is going to look like for the Wisconsin. I just said Wisconsin. For the Milwaukee
They don't have
Bucks.
2 weeks to figure it out.
I just had my mind going on the Badgers, and I almost said Wisconsin Badgers, and we're talking about the Bucks. Anyways, I just got to Tyler. Jake, give me a quick hitter for tonight's game, Badgers, Maryland. Give me a quick hitter. What do you want to see tonight?
Well, I want to see a little bit more of what I saw versus Washington. I don't need Carrington to hit 9 3-pointers, but I feel like the offense was a way more fluid versus Washington than it was versus Oregon. It was kind of night and day. So I like the ball movement. Obviously, Tyler talked about that before, but we're big ball movement guys. We're big physicality guys, and I feel like the guys down low, they got the message after the Oregon game. They played a lot better in the Washington game, and then the ball movement was great. And you saw wow, they called plays for a shooter and he was making shots. Maybe the Milwaukee Bucks should do that with a guy named AJ Green.
I like it. I agree. I don't want to see 9 threes. I want to see 10. I want to see him break his own record and set another school record.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be awesome. So Tyler, quick hitter, what do you got for me tonight's game? Badgers, Maryland.
I'm actually going to give credit to Jake for calling this out, and it's just that John Blackwell needs to be more aggressive offensively. He got a little passive offensively in the Washington game, and it got him into some bad spots, and he committed some turnovers, which, if you listen to the last 15 minutes of us talking, not a big fan of turnovers. So be aggressive offensively. Look to finish the ball instead of trying to find somebody to pass it to once you get to the paint.
Right, because when he looks passive, he looks sad, and I don't want him to look sad anymore. I want him to make it look like he wants to be there, because I think he wants to be there. I want to make him look like it in this game here against Maryland. I completely agree. So, fellas, thank you, as always, for stopping by tonight here on the show. Let the people know where to find you guys out there across social media.
Yeah, Facebook and YouTube is where our shows are live. On Tuesday nights, we're going to have our draft shows ramping up pretty soon. That's going to be 8 o'clock Central Time. And then on Wednesdays is when we cover the Bucks, Brewers, and the Badgers basketball and football team starting at 4 o'clock, also on Facebook and YouTube. So we're always live so that people can join along. And then we're pretty active on Twitter and TikTok as well. So Wisco Fanatics everywhere.
Make sure you guys check them out. Make sure you check out the TikToks. They got tons of great stuff over there. You can interact with them over there. And make sure you interact on the Facebook live streams, too. They love the questions. They love to answer them out there. They're great at breaking down all of that stuff. So when we come back, we're going to do a little Brewer talk here to end hour number 1, and then we're going to look ahead to hour number 2. We'll be right back here on Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. I'm your host, Trade, and we're coming back in here on this Wednesday. And, hey, this last little portion of hour number 1 of the show here tonight is brought to you by Jeff Holthouse with State Farm Insurance. For farm, home, auto, renters, and life insurance, contact Jeff Holthouse there with State Farm Insurance, located in the Kids Corner building, the former Kids Corner building there in Marshfield. Make sure you check them out there. Jeff Holthouse with State Farm Insurance. So, talked about a lot in hour number 1. We got to the Bucks, Packers, talked a little bit of Brewers off top. I wanted to get to some questions that I was hit up with in the text-in line. If you guys want to be a part of the show, send your questions, 715-990-4914. That is 715-990-4914. I can read your question off here on the show, and I can answer it for you. Here, you can agree with my opinion on it or not. That's just how it goes, right? So, anyways, this came in from the 715, and it was, could Brandon Lockridge play himself into a role in a really deep outfield and steal a spot from somebody else? Brandon Lockridge has hit well down there at Spring so far. He's got some good defense to go along with it. So the question is, could he play himself into a role in that outfield? I would think so. I would definitely think so. I mean, you look at who are your solidified spots, Sal Frelick and Jackson Turiel, left and right. And then you would say center field is up for grabs right now. You would say it's between Garrett Mitchell, Blake Perkins, and you could say Brandon Lockridge could work himself into that role. I don't know if he's going to be a starter, but you could see him work into a bench role. Now, the question is, who does that come at the expense of? Because Christian Yelich is going to factor in, so there's 3 of your for sure guys. I would assume Garrett Mitchell, as long as he stays healthy, knock on wood, is going to factor in, so there's 4. So you're looking at probably Blake Perkins or maybe a guy like Tyler Black that we've talked about in the past. Could be a guy that could lose sometime. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do because it is a really deep outfield, and this is a good and bad thing. You have a lot of depth. I think Lockridge has options yet, so I would imagine maybe he's going to be the guy who's going to be optioned down. But if he continues to hit at the AAA level, you're probably going to see him at some point this season. You don't want to lose Blake Perkins' defense, but if Brandon Lockridge is hitting and he plays good defense, you could definitely see him work himself into a role on the bench there for the Brewers. Definitely the bench for the Brewers here moving forward. Do I believe that David Hamilton is going to take that quantum leap like Pat Murphy says? If Pat Murphy says it, this question came out of the 715 too. If Pat Murphy says it, that's just how it's going to go. That's just how it's going to go. So if Pat Murphy says that David Hamilton is going to take a quantum leap this year, I'm just going to have to take his word for it and just go with it. I heard that he said that the other day. David Hamilton, why not? Why not? Another guy comes in. Brewers, he doesn't really do anything elsewhere. He hasn't really been a known guy elsewhere. Comes in, starts hitting. Brewers know how to work with him, put him in the right spot. That's the way the Brewers operate. So I wouldn't see why not that David Hamilton could take a quantum leap this year. So, like I said, if you guys want to be involved, if you want your questions read off here on the show, make sure you hit me up, 715-990-4914. That is 715-990-4914, or at me or tag me across social media. I can find them there too. So, with that, we got hour number 2 coming up next here. Kyle's going to stop by. We're going to talk some World Baseball Classic, and then we're going to get to the Badgers, preview that Maryland game for you guys coming up tonight here at 7. So we'll be right back here on Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage.